All right, let's start. Hey, everybody. It's Tuesday. Welcome to the Unscheduled CEO. The Unscheduled CEO. It's the 2nd of December. We're coming to the last couple of weeks before the Christmas break. Last couple of weeks to grind. It's grind time, guys. It is the 2nd of December. We are just coming off a lovely Black Friday and Cyber Monday sale, as we do every year. Black Friday was last Friday. I bought a couple of things myself, but the main thing I was doing was being part of the AJ and Smart Facilitator.com sale process. If you're part of any of our lists, you probably got a fuck ton of emails. If you're wondering if we ever get like people complaining or sending us angry emails during this period of time, yes, we do. Not as many as you would think, but we're always trying to balance this thing between, is it too much or is it not enough, you know? So welcome to the Unscheduled CEO podcast this week. Actually, yesterday, I put out a little video. So I started a Patreon last week. Patreon is just like a sort of hub for me to post content and things that wouldn't be really maybe related to, or like it wouldn't really make sense to put it on YouTube. For example, yesterday I posted an office tour. So a tour of the AJ and Smart office, just to see what things look like behind the scenes. I'll show you. This is how that looks. I'll just share, see if I can, if you're not on YouTube, if you're just listening to this audio wise, don't worry about it. Hey, there we go. You can see nothing. Brilliant. There was this thing here. Where is it? Want to see my office? Here we go. Haha. There we go. So if you go over to patreon.com/unscheduled, you can see this behind the scenes video of the AJ and Smart office. You don't have to pay anything. As I mentioned last week, Patreon is sort of an experiment. It was cool to see so many of you guys join up. A little experiment to see. First of all, I use Patreon and I really like Patreon as a customer. But second of all, I'm still trying to figure out what this whole unscheduled CEO thing is. Obviously, you know, in the grand scheme of the AJ and Smart businesses, it's still sort of a side hustle, but I'm trying to, or my gut feeling is telling me to move it more towards putting more effort into it. And what Patreon allows is you can become a paid member of this Patreon for like €4.50. That's not going to do a huge amount in the scale of the AJ and Smart business. But what's cool about it is I'm treating that money as I don't have to do anything smart with it, right? I can buy something stupid for the background here, or use it as an excuse to say, okay, this week, well, the Patreon's making this much per month, and so I don't know, I can get Ellie from our team, the video editor, to move off one of the facilitator.com things, move, you know, slightly more towards unscheduled and make clips and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, patreon.com. I'll tell you right now how much revenue that's making. It is making, so keep in mind, the expenses at AJ and Smart right now are approximately €250,000 per month. And the Patreon, as of right now, is making $59 per month. Fuck yeah. Woo! And so my first expenditure here is going to be a Magic Mind. You see this little drink. I'm holding this up to the YouTube, the camera on YouTube. It's Magic Mind. This is the caffeine-free edition, caffeine-free and sugar-free. Now, this doesn't count as one of the drink reviews. I'm just having this because I want to have something caffeine-free right now that kind of apparently gives me a sharper mind for the podcast. So I'm going to have a little slug of this. This is not an ad. I don't have any sponsorship. Although Magic Mind, if you ever want to sponsor a very tiny, insignificant podcast, fucking sponsor me by just sending me all this shit. Laura literally drinks thousands of liters of this shit. My mind's about to light up. Ugh. Okay, am I actually recording everywhere? Yeah. So yeah, Black Friday. We'll be finishing up like Cyber Monday because we're working on California time, is probably ending in like the next 2 hours. Big thing this week, actually speaking of the office, the big thing this week is I'm trying to decide what to do with our office spaces. So we have 2 office spaces. We probably have enough office space for 35 people if you would, put all of the tables in and all of the chairs in. Sorry guys, the doorbell keeps ringing. I'm just gonna have to pause this and come back to it in a sec. I think I can do it. Okay, back here. All right, I'm back. Got a package. Gonna open it. So yeah, office space is pretty big. Well, we have 2 offices. Oh, I see. I know what this is. It's this electrolytes, salt electrolytes. You guys can also sponsor me. My potassium levels were a bit low, so I also just like trying out that shit. Okay, so yeah, office space is humongous. You could fit. Well, we used to when we had a smaller office space. There was a time when we had 36 employees. It was tight. It was chaotic, but this space is quite a lot bigger. The 2 spaces combined, and I mean, looking at the way this business is going, who's going to be actually coming into the office on a weekly, daily basis, we're talking about under 10 people using the space. And so yesterday, or the last couple of months, myself and Laura have been trying to figure out, what do we do with this? Do we just get rid of one of the spaces? And it would probably make more sense to get rid of the big space, which is 300 square meters, where we have run events with where we've had 50 people in that office. And okay, that's a little, you notice, but there's still space. Or do we get rid of the smaller space, which would actually be the ideal space for us to work in as such a small team, such a small in-person full-time team? Would make sense for us to be in a smaller office, but it's just not. There's something in my mind that is telling me to keep the big space. There's something in my mind that's telling me it doesn't matter if we're not utilizing it, that there's an element of this of just sort of having it as a almost visual statement to myself, to the team, to our customers, that no, this is a business that we're taking seriously. This is a place I go to do stuff. And something about reducing this physical space or moving into the smaller physical space. I love the smaller office, by the way, and I still haven't decided. The smaller office is on a higher floor. It's very beautiful. The bigger office is on a lower floor. It's huge. It's less beautiful, but it's just a great workspace. And so this conversation yesterday, Laura and I were sitting around with Kyle, who kind of plays the role of a mixture of like office manager, accountant, bookkeeper, all of this stuff. And again, used to be the drummer in our band. So we're sitting around and we were talking about it. We're like, yeah, it just makes so much sense to get rid of that big office. Like we'll save, I don't know, 60, 70,000 euro per year. And then we are also not so spread out. And I was like, yeah, that makes total sense. I think that makes sense. I think that's what we should do. And then about 2 hours later, I think it was like it was when I was doing the office tour for the Patreon, patreon.com/unscheduled. Then I was like, I don't know. It doesn't feel right it doesn't feel like the right thing to do. So Laura and I were talking about it later, and we got back onto this conversation that I keep coming back to, which is that I think there's been like a pretty fundamental shift in society, at least the society in my lifetime. There's been a pretty fundamental shift in how people are living since COVID happened. And I think that the like consequences of it are a lot more profound and a lot deeper and a lot more damaging than I think anyone really realizes. This isn't going to turn into conspiracy theory talk. This is just very basic stuff. And a lot of that comes down to this idea that COVID happened. So when that first kicked off, when the first lockdowns happened, one thing that surprised me a lot was how quickly rational people, decided, I am going to uproot my entire life right now and move away to like now. It was basically like this. This was the logic. Now that the world has moved to fully remote, I don't need to live in a city anymore because there's nothing for me here, because obviously the cities were dead. I'm going to move to somewhere more cheaper, more space, garden. It's just going to be better for me, my family, depending on the reason. Also just know a lot of couples who moved out to the middle of nowhere. Just again, it's like, we don't need to live in a city. I'm done with the city. I'm done with city life. That's not what I want to do anymore. I want to live away from people. I want to live away from a city. And just want to be away from all that. So that was like a first kind of thing I noticed, is that people were making very dramatic, sudden decisions, like, or I'm moving back to my home country, or buying a house in the middle of nowhere because it's cheaper. And the second thing I noticed was people, and this was something it took a longer time to notice, is that most people that I knew were now moving from, having a thing that they would go to every day, like a place they would go to every day to work, to no longer leaving their homes or apartments. No longer leaving their homes or apartments, meaning the getting up in the morning and going somewhere part doesn't exist anymore. And the only outside time is just when it gets too much, when it's like too bad to be inside so long. It's like, I need to go out or I'm going to go crazy. And this slowly but surely has become the norm. I think a lot of people listening to this podcast work remotely, work from home. And I think that it's an extremely nuanced topic, because it is it is extremely convenient to not have to go to a space. Like you see the people who are always fighting against in-person, posting on LinkedIn. They're like, why would I come to an office if it looks like this? I'm just going to be sitting at a desk all day, being distracted. I can't get my real work done when I go to the office. I think the strange part about it is that employees are now basically playing into what the employers want them to do. Like, just be efficient cogs in a machine and not like real people who are socializing and interacting with each other. Like the employees are making it so that the job is so much just a job now, so much just about pressing buttons, that I think a lot of employees don't realize that they're losing one of the huge benefits of work, which is the social aspect. I saw someone posting on X that isolation isn't new, but it's now packaged as convenience. And I also just I just have this tweet here. Being forced to leave your house to get things once in a while had emergent social benefits whose loss we will still feel for decades. There's a growing class of people who, by the way of remote work, delivery apps, and online services, no longer leave home for weeks on end. You might not be someone who doesn't leave home for weeks on end, but this is not that uncommon. And there's also, this isn't a across the board a problem. I think there are people who are very, very good at spending time by themselves, and that's been the way they've always been, and that's what they would have done, COVID or no COVID. But at least they could tell, oh yeah, like I'm sort of different in the way that I do things. I stay in my house all day. I don't go out. And that's me being kind of different and weird. And that's like, you can at least think about where you are in relation to the way everyone else does it. But now it's not that strange to spend time with people who you meet them later in the day. And it happens to me too, where you haven't been outside and seen another person, or a person that you don't know, like maybe you're seeing your spouse or your kids, or you'll meet people who haven't seen a different mix of people in quite a long time, and the social awkwardness is very high, and the general feeling of like, I just want to go back to my place and be on the internet is also very high. I see it in my company a lot. I see it in our clients a lot. They're not used to being outside. They're not used to seeing so much stuff. And there's this idea as well that like, if your brain isn't challenged, if your brain isn't stimulated, it starts to like, I don't know, like rot a bit. And I think just this idea of just bumping into people, going to cafes, being in your office, meeting different people, seeing different things happening, even if they're not enjoyable, even if they're like challenging, even if you're dealing with challenging people, these things develop your brain and personality. Whereas insane constant levels of comfort and convenience is unlikely to do this, even if you're learning all day from digital sources. As an employer, as someone who hires people, this remote work thing for most companies, for most employers, is fucking great. Seriously, like, this is the thing that I think a lot of people don't understand. People like, yes, there are companies who are telling you come back to the office because it's more productive. It actually is more productive, by the way. Like I know that employees don't want this to be true, but there are the amount of studies on this topic now, and the fact that the companies with the highest revenue per employee have brought their employees back to the office. Valve, one of my favorite companies in the world, the CEO of Valve came out and said, yeah, we lost about 25, like when we're working remotely, we lose about 25% productivity. Now, for some companies that matters, and they'll bring, like for companies that are obsessed with excellence and like world domination, they have to bring their employees back. This is why you have like companies like Google, Apple, Meta, OpenAI, like the companies actually doing things they bring their key employees back, the employees who have to make decisions. They obviously have more, like if you're not being brought back in, then you're obviously considered in a way a support staff, which is also fine. It's just not, you're probably not there making the things and making the big decisions. But for employers, for most employers who don't need to think about world domination, including me, it is far easier now to run a business because of the remote thing than it used to be. You spend way less money on like things like, you know, lunches and snacks and all of this stuff in the office. Your expectations for the things like the delight that you would need to bring to the office space are essentially zero at this point. Because obviously you just don't know when people are coming in or they don't need to come in. Many companies just don't have an office anymore. Or if they have an office, it's just a fucking sad little dungeon that is, you know, just there for the whoever happens to come in. Like I know a lot of, especially like IT companies who used to have like quite a vibrant, I mean, they're not like, you know, hyperactive or, you know, people who are running around screaming and going, yay, but they had like quite nice office spaces, and I would visit them in Berlin, and they would do like Christmas parties, and it was a very nice vibe. It was a great place to meet people. Now they have like a 3-desk shithole that they barely have to pay anything for. And this is great for the founders. By the way, again, I'm criticizing the people in my position here, including the way I'm thinking about it. You, as the founder now, especially if you got some momentum, you can just be like, fuck it, this machine is working. Now I'm going to since everyone is talking about this remote work thing, and since if you're an employer giving everyone the option to do remote, you're basically a hero. And if you even slightly tell people they have to come in every day, then it's like an anti-work thing. Then I'll just do the lowest friction path, and I will get rid of all of our office spaces, save tons of money, can take more of that profit for myself even, get rid of like tons of employees, especially who were involved in keeping the offices running. I mean, these offices used to be huge, right? You just don't have to do anything special anymore, and your expenses come down dramatically. So a lot of companies really benefit from this remote work thing. Not just from a talent perspective. Like, yes, okay, it's cool that you can get talent from another country. Still, the biggest companies in the world want that talent to be in the room with them, which I think you're foolish to think that it's just an old-fashioned way of thinking. The people who are posting this stuff on LinkedIn, that, you know, remote work advocates or whatever, obviously, first of all, their business is to talk about remote work being great, but they're not. They're ignoring the nuance. Yeah, if your job doesn't involve creative thinking, being part of the core ideation process, if your job doesn't really influence the direction of the business, and if you're not working on any core products, yeah, okay, you can be remote. And the people who are fighting for this are often in that position. It doesn't mean it's a bad position or anything's wrong with it. It just means that they're not necessarily like trying to be at the cutting edge of making crazy shit or making interesting things. They're like, why would I have to come into the office if 90% of what I do is just doing support calls all day? Yeah, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. But don't look at these remote work advocates as the clean answer to the question of, is remote good or bad, right? Or should you be doing it? I think, and I've talked about this before, so I know the responses. Some people are like, yeah, well, I'm so much healthier than I ever was, because when I was having to commute to the office every day, then like I couldn't work out, I couldn't do doctor's appointments, et cetera, and now I can. Yeah, you're maybe not able to handle nuance. I understand. I'm not telling everyone now you have to do a 1 hour commute every day, a 1 hour commute back, fuck up your health, whatever it is. I want people to understand what we've lost, basically, by completely, especially in Europe, right? In Silicon Valley, the funny thing is, this should give you a hint of how, this should give you a feeling. This next thing I say should give you a feeling for the problem. The place where all of these tools that make your life easier remotely, like the place that makes all of the remote work tools that make your remote life convenient, the place that invents all of the products that makes all of this remote stuff very convenient, Silicon Valley, they work in person. So what does that tell you? They're creating all of this stuff. Again, this is not a conspiratorial thing. It's just the unintended consequences. I mean, especially if you're living in Europe, it's unlikely if you're living in Europe that there's going to be a company important enough that's making important enough things that you have to go into the office, right? It's likely if you're working in Europe, you can probably do remote work for the rest of your life. And it's also likely if you're an entrepreneur, whereas before you might have considered, maybe I should go to a co-working space. Maybe I should get a small office. Maybe I should, well, now you're like, yeah, no, I just work from home because that's more efficient. And we're getting locked into the convenience and efficiency without understanding that it's the messiness and the inconvenience and the sort of like distractions and the chaos of working with other people in a space that is kind of a lot of what life is about, right? And the family aspect, this maybe will be controversial. I don't know where it's going to go, but it feels like it might get controversial. I often hear, yeah, well, I just want to spend time with my family. And I want to spend more. I want to be able to pick my kid up from school. I want to be able to, yeah, like that's like the, this argument. I understand it. I have a daughter. She's amazing. I just dropped her off at school, and I will pick her up from school as well. And again, it becomes like this hyper defensive response, right? Instead of just thinking, yeah, well, how could I find some balance here where maybe I am, and maybe I'm talking to my partner about like how many days a week can I go in to get this, social element of work, talking to your employer, trying to figure things out, or you deciding as the entrepreneur how you want to do it. You've just accepted, or a lot of people have just accepted, well, that doesn't work. Like, no, it's family. It's just family. Family is the only important thing. And again, hyper unnuanced, because I can speak for the fathers that, or in many cases, the parents that take this hyper efficient, I'm just staying home because that's the most easy way to do everything approach. I do think the overall effect of this is people getting just a little bit more dull, like feeling less excited, a bit more like detached from society besides what's happening on the internet. I also think it's maybe going to be interesting for kids to watch their parents never leave their apartment and do everything from a screen and not have friends anymore, not have people come over, not have things happening, not have parents talking about like a funny thing that happened at work or an annoying thing that happened at work. It will just be, here's what happened on the screen today. I don't know. That doesn't feel very inspiring. Again, if you're working in a very big old corporate that's very boring, then maybe that's also not very exciting. But at least there's the sense that there's somewhere to go, there's something to do, as opposed to I'm sitting, like, especially because so many jobs are pointless, right? It's at least can be a reason to get out of the apartment or house, even if the job itself is pointless. There's another layer to it. I mean, this is going to be, I don't think this is going to be possible to unravel, by the way. I think we're stuck like this in countries where productivity is not important. Again, or city, like I said, Silicon Valley, I think most of the companies that I know there have a pretty strict work in-person policy. And most of the big companies I know that are doing the things we use, making the things we use, have that too. There are plenty of remote companies. I am not saying it's everyone, but the big ones, the ones that are making the things we use, they want their employees in person. And I think it's going to be almost impossible to unravel. Like, I could tell my team tomorrow, hey, everyone, it's Monday to Friday in person every day from now on. Yeah. And people would have to make a decision about what they want to do about that. But I don't want to do that. I don't feel like I couldn't be bothered. Like, why would I bother? Right? It's just, it will be annoying for me to have to make that call. And so nobody is here basically to help anyone with this problem, because why would you bother coming to an office if you don't have to? Why would you bother going anywhere if you don't have to? And yeah, I just don't see this as a positive trajectory going forward. And it's a lot of the reason why Laura and I decided to do a lot more in-person stuff, right? We were like events, like a lot of the things we were going to do as online virtual events, we changed to in-person events because we think that we don't want to be part of the problem. I don't want to be, I want to be able to offset some of that digital hyper convenience that's being created by also us as well, right? And I think this is the business I launched a couple of weeks with Laura and the team, alreadythere.com. This retreat, this creative retreat, is one of the answers to this for me, where I'm saying I'm not going to even remotely, I'm also not going to go out on LinkedIn and post this, because I'll get so much shit for it, and people are generally too dumb to understand nuance and will just get angry and be like, well, I want to spend time with my kid. And I'm like, okay, do you think that I actually think you shouldn't spend time with your kid, you fucking idiot? But I want to be able to not have to commute. Shut the fuck up, you piece. Anyway, so my approach to this, the active things I'm doing to make this better for myself and my inner circle is, number one, having an office space. Number two, trying to make some kind of an in-person culture that works within reason, right? I'm recording from home right now. This is me recording this podcast from home right now. The reason for this today is because I have, like, on Tuesdays, I do late sessions into the night because our clients are on California time. And so after this, will actually go climbing, do exercise, and then come back, get ready for the later calls. But still, the way we do it at AJ and Smart is the mandatory days are Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Still thinking about how I want to do that. Still trying to figure that out. So yeah, I can't imagine. And yeah, like I said, for us, the ways of doing it is doing more in-person events, more situations where we can bring people together, have them interact with each other, have them have a just fucking great experience together, have it be very social, very special, very like only possible in an in-person environment. I mean, the retreat would be impossible to run virtually. I mean, we'd make more money if we ran it virtually. If I was like, we're going to do a creative retreat online, it would sell well. It would be easier to run than the one we're doing in February, which is going to be a lot of work. But the whole point of alreadythere.com, the whole point of that retreat is to create an environment where people are away from their digital devices, where people are together in a space, where people are making things together, doing things together, hanging out in an unstructured way. And I want to bring more of that into the world and less things that make people sit in front of their computer. I mean, maybe this content is a bad idea because it's maybe making some people sit in front. I assume no one listens to this while they're sitting. Like, I would assume I'm in another tab while you're doing something else anyway, or you're cleaning something, or you're walking around. So yeah, I feel very strongly about this situation. I really think it's like I do think it's an unintended consequence of the COVID thing kicking off, but it's it's actually quite sad. Like it's very unfortunate to me that people in their prime, the prime of like just excitement in their lives, where they could meet someone. By the way, also like just straight up, look at statistics about where people meet their spouses and where people meet their partners. Yeah, it's often work, where work or college. Meet spouse statistics. I mean, obviously, online dating is a fucking huge part of it, but if you speak to anyone who, who's, I want to see up until 2020. Up until 2020. It's hard to find this. Okay, we have bar, restaurant, at work, school, college, through friends. Yeah. I mean, 20%. If we look at work and college, like obviously this is going to be an in-person, that accounts for almost half of how people met before COVID. I don't want to sound like a fucking curmudgeon here. I'm just seeing this stuff playing out in real life. And it feels, I think the thing about it that's maybe tricky is that it's like a frog boiling in water situation, because I think in most cases, no one's like, oh my God, this is terrible. I can't believe that now I'm working from home and there's no places I can go and meet people anymore and blah, blah, blah. It's like, nah, it's cool. I can just stay home. Right? It's also not uncommon for people to not leave their places for days. It's not uncommon at all. And it's there's lots of other things that combine with these things as well that make it easier to not leave your apartments or houses. And I want to stress that this is not just something I'm recognizing in people who are single and living alone and not leaving their apartments. It's something that I'm also heavily recognizing in parents and couples, where it's like, oh yeah, like we just don't, like, basically outside of vacations, we just don't leave the apartment anymore. Like that is very common. And it's not like you're going to die if you don't leave the apartment. It's not like you're going to it's not like something severely bad is going to happen that will create a turning point. It's, I think, more of a slow, kind of slightly quiet retreat from society. That's the way I've seen it. That's the way I see it. When I was younger, there were obviously kind of people who retreated from society and never left their places. But you would, you'd be like, are you okay? Is everything all right? And, is there anything I can do? And you'd want to get them out. And now it's like, no, that's like completely the baseline. You know what I mean? It's the baseline of, and even for me, right? The momentum, that has been created, the convenience momentum is so strong. The current is so strong to pull me into never just not doing anything, not going outside, because I can make all my money now from this seat with this microphone. That what Laura and I have started to do as well is make sure that we're planning into our week, besides the days that we're in the office, also just other ways that we're kind of interacting with people and in new places. And we use the Soho House in Berlin, for example, just working from there so that we're around a lot of different people, just moving around a bit, just trying to get different environments, different interactions, because it's just so it's so goddamn easy to do nothing now. No, again, you can be it's not like people aren't working out at home. All of this stuff is they're still doing stuff, right? And I think as well, it's again, not that everyone who's at home is like depressed or something. I don't also believe that. That's why I think this whole thing is kind of insidious. What I had hoped for is that, okay, and what I'm looking for is the balance. I'm looking for, okay, in person all the time. Okay, maybe that was kind of pointless. Full remote, I think at a certain time in your life, maybe that makes sense. But I think especially in your 20s and 30s and maybe even early 40s, I think it's a good way to start to stagnate a bit and retreat from society. Like people, it's also just kind of, unfortunate to meet like a, 33-year-old who's already so detached and dejected because and so not motivated. And again, I and this is Berlin. When I moved here first, the startup scene was very wild, and the agency scene was very wild. There was so much going on all the time. And it's pretty dead now. And you'll meet someone who's running a company and they're doing well. I mean, it's not like they're not making money. It's just like, it's good. Yeah. But like, there's no like rowdiness or excitement around the businesses. It's just lacking severely. And I do think that it's an opportunity as well, I guess, a business opportunity to sort of look to how you can help people with this or convince people to get out of the apartment. But I really don't know where it's going to go. I don't think it found a happy medium. I think that the majority of people, like the people who I think it's worked out really well for, are like high-powered entrepreneurs who would just never sit in their apartment all day, who are just up and out, like very high energy. They're just like making things all the time. It doesn't matter what was going on in the world. They just never stopped. Or it's really working out fine for, or it's really not affecting places where the momentum is already high. Places like San Francisco, where if you were like, I'm hanging out in my apartment all day doing nothing, people would be like, oh, really? Like it would be an unexpected thing to be doing there. It just wouldn't be a normal thing to do. Whereas I really think almost everywhere else, it's completely standard. Berlin, if you're working from home all day for an entire week, 8 hours a day, kind of moving between sitting at your computer, looking at your phone, eating lunch, back, maybe you go and get groceries, back to your computer. That is normal life for a lot of knowledge workers. And, well, I don't want to tell people what to do. I just don't want that for myself. And I don't want to be creating that. I want to figure out how to have a sense of vibrancy in our workspace, I guess, at AJ and Smart. It's definitely been less vibrant since COVID. I mean, there were things that also about the AJ and Smart of that time that I also didn't like. There was actually just too many people. There was all like this was the time when there was all this focus on employee benefits, where it just went so far that it was like ridiculous, and people there was like, it wasn't about working anymore. It was just about it being a big party. And maybe it's just about finding something in between all of that, which is what I want, which is what I want to do, which is what I'm trying to figure out for myself and for my company. But yeah, guys, don't ignore the fact that their life is long. Like, I don't know. I'm also surprised sometimes when I'm talking to someone in their mid-30s and they're talking to me as if they're about to die. You know what I mean? Like, they're like, yeah, just, I'm going to do this for a little bit, and then maybe then we'll move out and get somewhere cheaper. And then I'm like, what? Like, this is it's so, the energy is just so flat in a lot of the kind of career world at the moment. And I find it very unfortunate. And I just don't want to contribute to it. I really don't want to contribute to it. And that's exactly the goal for us next year when we're sort of doing more of this unscheduled stuff. I do want as much of it as possible to help people not get locked into their apartments and yeah. But I do think there's a point of no return. I do think eventually, and I can sense that feeling even in myself, if you get comfortable enough for long enough, it's like if you figured out a cheat code in a video game, you can't trick yourself anymore into playing it without using that cheat code. Like, for me, I was playing this game Red Dead Redemption 2 years ago. I talked about this before. I was playing Red Dead Redemption 2. It was one of the best video game experiences that I ever had in my life for the first couple of hours. I was like, this is honestly amazing. Like, looking for stuff for my camp, like all of this stuff, doing these little missions. And eventually something happened, and it seemed to be like a glitch where I did one mission. So all of the other missions, I was getting like $20, whatever, enough to scrape along. Then I did this one mission. It was this like bank robbery mission. And I got so much money in it that I could buy every single thing in the game, upgrade every single thing. And it was so early in the game. And for a while, I was like, I started to notice that I started to not really care so much about playing the game anymore. And then I thought about, it's because I got all this fucking money and there's like no kind of goal anymore. And that was a fun thing to work towards. there was like at least some inconvenience. I had to actually go and do things to get these little scraps of money so that I had this thing to do. Now the economy is broken. I can buy every weapon. I can finish the camp setup, etc. And eventually I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to like pretend that I don't have all the money. That was like the thing I was thinking in the game. I'm going to pretend that I don't have all the money, and so that I still need it. So I like these missions are going to be fun again, you know? The numbers going up will actually matter. But I couldn't pretend that I hadn't basically broken the economy of the game, and there was kind of no point other than seeing how the story was playing out. And then I was like, yeah, but then I can just like go as fast through it as possible because there's no challenge here anymore. And I feel like the remote thing is going to be the same. Like, why now you would have to choose to work at a company that doesn't do remote or has a lot of in-person. And like, I don't know, like the first day you feel like not putting on clothes and getting up, you're probably going to quit. I just don't think that there's going to be a lot of incentive for people outside of the main places where people are making stuff. I just don't think there's going to be a huge incentive for anybody to change this. And with digital tools getting much better, AI getting insanely good, entertainment probably becoming the center point of everybody's life, I can't imagine why people are going to go outside that much and interact with people that much outside of a very atomized way of doing it, meaning there's going to be designated times, like this is where I will have the barbecue with my neighbors. This is where I will go to the gym. This is where I will go to the grocery store. I think it will be very non-spontaneous, not improvised. Things won't come up as everything has to be like in the same way as you might have met your future wife in college or work. You now will have to think a plan if you're single and you want to be with someone. You have to plan how you would want this to happen. You're going to have to find someone on the internet and see if they want to have a date. And this just feels, and obviously this is more efficient, right? It is more efficient. But there's something about this whole thing that makes me think that it's definitely causing a loss of vibrancy, loss of excitement, loss of enthusiasm, loss of that exciting feeling of meeting new people, and more like, well, it's kind of especially if you're a bit socially awkward in the first place. I mean, I am. It's like, why would I go and try to meet people? It's kind of painful to do that, to meet new people. So I'm just not going to do this. Yeah. I don't know if you got anything from this ramble. But I don't know. It's something I feel it's something that's I've been worried and thinking about it since like the very start of COVID. I remember like within the first 2 months when people were like, I'm going to buy a house in the middle of nowhere. Like, what? You? Like, yeah, there's nothing to there. Like, I don't need the city stuff anymore. Okay. That is it. I think the lack of nuance is the challenge here, where I think you can have both. I think you can, for example, still live in a city or still go work in a company in person, and then do things that maybe it's better to just take a month and go into the forest or something. It doesn't have to be so binary. And I think this sort of extremely binary thinking about these things makes people's life extra complicated. Not even, it's just, it makes life a bit, I guess I just find it weird to meet so many guys my age who are so much like a 50-year-old already, or a 60-year-old who is... The funny thing is I actually meet 50-year-olds and 60-year-olds who are so much more vibrant than a lot of people my age. So it's more like end of life, like kind of, you know, tidying up the last things before death vibes already at 35. Well, I hope you guys have a great week. Patreon.com/unscheduled if you want to support this piece of shit podcast. Alreadythere.com if you want to come to the retreat. Thank you. That last bit of the song actually reminded me a bit of this Pluribus show. All right. See you guys.